All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I got my guy Ethan here with me. How's it going, bro? Thanks for coming into Austin. Appreciate you being here today.
Yeah, man, appreciate you having me on.
So you've been in the insurance business now for about a year.
About a year, yeah.
Okay, cool. And prior to this, so you went to college. You did real estate right out of college. Is that right?
No, so right out of college, I moved down to Miami. I was like training NFL players down there.
Got it.
My original plan was to be a strength and conditioning coach.
Okay.
And then so I went down to Miami. Miami wasn't for me. I stuck out like a sore thumb there.
Yeah. Yeah. You
Got-
don't
got
you don't
from the
sound like
South.
anyone else from Miami.
No.
Yeah.
So I moved back to Charlotte. And when I got back, started up a stump grinding business, just cutting trees. Had a personal training business, building patios. And then who's my now wife? We got pregnant.
Mhm.
She lived 2 hours away, and I had to make a decision. Like, am I going to move down to Greenville, South Carolina, or is she going to move up to Charlotte? It's about 2 hours away.
Yep.
So I decided to move down there. Figured she needed her family a lot more than I did.
Yeah.
And I got down there with no job. Brother-in-law, he had got me into real estate. I struggled there pretty bad right at first,
Mm-hmm.
but I ended up, figuring it out, becoming like top agent in my brokerage, and then one of the top agents in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And they're in Greenville, which was good. I was closing like 6 to 8 deals a month, and then like the slow season came like through December, January, February, and I went from closing like 6 to 8 deals a month to doing zero in January, February, and March. And I just had to find a way to make some money, put some food on the plate for my family. And I'd actually followed you for a while on just Instagram and stuff, because I considered getting into this before real estate, and I just didn't really do it. But I'd been following you for a while, and I saw Wiley on your page, and I just hit him up. He got me some leads like first day when I got in here, and I sold 10,000 the first day, and then after that I was like, I jumped ship, moved back to Charlotte, jumped ship.
Were you gonna be part-time in insurance and like just in the slow season for real estate and then do both, or what was your thoughts like going into it?
My thoughts going into it were like, all right, if this is really as good as it sounds, like I'll really consider like going full-time into it. And then my original plan was just like get through this slow period of time.
Yeah.
Like, and then just keep doing real estate. And if I needed to do insurance, I would do it. But I did 10K that first day, and I just went all in on
So
it.
it sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people I was talking to someone about this the other day, and they were like, well, they're like, what's your advice of what I should do? This is a friend, not my business, but they're thinking about being in insurance, thinking about other sales too, right? And they're like, what would your advice be? I'm like, I'm obviously biased. I think our business is the best business to make money in, but I think you need to make a decision. And he said, well, what if I choose the wrong one? I'm like, well, then you choose another, then you choose again. But like, you're pretty talented. You'll be fine at whatever you do. I think a lot of people make like indecision causes a lot more issues than the wrong decision. And so you could just try something. If it don't work out, then you can go back to what you're doing right now. I think people overthink that. They're like, well, what if I fail at this? It's like, okay, well then I failed at something. Who cares? Like, there's really nothing to lose, right? Is that kind of how you looked at getting into insurance in the first place? Like, if it don't go well, like I'll just make another couple $100,000 selling real estate per year then in the fast season.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I knew, I could be successful in whatever I was doing. So really, my mindset was if I put my head down and work, like I'd be successful. But like really the bigger thing though was just like my faith, right?
Yeah.
I knew that if I would have stayed in real estate, like God was with me. If the path I went, insurance, God's with me, and He's got me whichever way I go. And that was really probably the biggest thing that I did 10K the first day, and I was like, all right, I'm all in on insurance. I wasn't really scared of making a wrong decision, but I think like you said, like inaction, like no decision is the worst decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think, would you ever gotten into sales, you and your then girlfriend, now wife, you all got pregnant, had a kid coming. How old were you at that point?
I think I was 21, 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got pregnant, you were like, okay, I got to figure this, like, how did life change for you at that point? Like, were you still training at that juncture?
Yeah. So I still lived in Charlotte for a couple months while we were pregnant and stuff. I just had to figure out a way to make money, and the only thing that I was seeing, because I had an exercise science degree,
Yeah.
like I really would have had to go get my master's to get my foot in the door to college during the conditioning levels, or I would have had to have gotten a real good internship or something. I got my foot in the door somewhere, which I had a good internship, but it wasn't leading me to that path.
It wasn't going to produce money right away, right?
Yeah, it wasn't going to produce money right away, and I needed money right then.
So when you started looking at stuff at that point, where you're like, hey, I need to make money right away. What were the different jobs you looked at, and like, why did you decide to do real estate at first?
So yeah, I saw real estate. I saw this with FFL specifically, and then like mortgages.
Okay.
And now the reason I got into real estate was because I had a family member that was in it.
Yeah.
And it was just an easy transition. It was all in person and everything. I mean, know what I know now. I wish I would have done this at first, because I was considering it, but I just didn't do it.
But you had one market person doing real estate seemed a little bit safer as a way to like learn sales, right? Because you had someone who you knew, who you could trust, that they were going to help you out probably, and it made sense for you, a natural fit, right?
Yeah, yeah. And we did a lot of stuff with like Zillow leads too. So I mean, you close deals on accident. Yeah. I mean, really, like you meet with someone, they want to buy the house. Like, there's not a whole lot you have to do to sell a house. If they want it, they want it, and you just come into contact with someone at the right time. So it was a pretty easy way to get into sales. And then I figured out when I started getting into listings that real estate's an actual sales job, and then I had to learn sales.
So why did you have to get into listings, and what was different about that than doing the Zillow leads you were doing by first?
Yeah. So, well, first off, Zillow took a huge cut. And then I had, obviously you splits with the brokerage too. Yep. So I was making a much smaller commission on the deals I was closing, and I was working like a dog. Yeah. Like I was working, like doing showings, like setting stuff up from like 8 in the morning till 8 p.m. I mean, every day. And then I have contract work to do after that. And the biggest thing that was handicapping me was my time. And so I was starting to look into things and figured out that like listings is where all the leverage was. And in real estate, like I could handle 20 listings at one time, but it's very hard to handle 20 buyers at one time. Got it. Right. And I did hire a showing assistant who started to do all that for me, but I was still handicapped on my time. So I figured out how to basically go after for sell by owners, for rent by owners, expired listings, and then just like circle prospecting, like just listed, just sold. So like someone just bought a house on Main Street, I call the neighbors right around it and see if they had plans of selling in the future, if they had an agent. Yeah. Right. It was just a long process. Got it. But I ended up being like real successful with it though. Like I think when I started going to listings, the most I had at one time was 18 active listings, and I was closing 6 to 8 a month. Yeah. I mean, so I was doing real good with it.
So you're doing that, you were having success, and then like you said, there's a slow season. So it was just kind of, did you just want something else to do? Or, because I feel like a lot of people who are in real estate, instead of going like, I'll just, I'll save the money. I made a couple $100,000 doing real estate. I'll just save some money and know there's gonna be a slow season. Like, why did you want to find something during that period to do?
I didn't like the whole like long process. Yeah. Like there's a lot of problems that come like deal to deal. There's issues with stuff, and like me being the middleman, I have to put out all those fires. Yeah. So there was a lot going on in each deal. Like I had a literal house burned down one time. Yeah. Like
everything that could happen.
That was a $8,000 commission. It was closing in 2 weeks, and the house literally burned down. Like
crazy.
Never get that back. But other than that, there was a lot of other issues like in deals and stuff that took more time from me than it was just annoying, Yeah. I was like, there's a better way to make money. Yeah. And then I decided to give this a shot. Got it.
And so once you guys started insurance, you had 10,000 your first week. What was the biggest difference, like right away you noticed between insurance and real estate sales? Like why? And then you decided pretty quick, like I'm going to do this full time. Like what gave you the confidence to decide that right away?
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that I called someone up one time, closed them on that phone call, and then I got paid within the next couple of days. Yeah. Like that really was all that I needed. And my mindset too was, if I can do it one time, I can do it 40 times a month. Yeah. And like that first day, I think I closed 4 people that first day, and it amounted to a couple of them were big ones, but it amounted to $10,000 in sales. And that, where my comp was at the time, that brought me roughly, $5,700, something like that, off of one day. Like that would have taken me at least 2 months to make in real estate. Yeah. at the
And
least.
because it would have taken that long to close, right? And I think that's even talking to other people like solar or pest control, like these different industries that are in sales. Like sales is awesome because you can control your income, but there's not a lot of industries where you don't have the middleman that you rely on to get everything done, right?
Yeah.
And ours is nice, especially like modern insurance. Prior, it was like you had the underwriters and that was the middleman, right? Like the underwriting process took a long time. You'd have to go blood, urine, all this stuff. Now it's like you apply, the technology is good enough where they can run a bunch of data points, prescription checks, and you know whether or not someone's approved, usually on the spot. And you kind of eliminate that middleman, right? And then that's why you can get paid so much quicker. I don't think there's any other industry that has the speed to pay and the turnaround time where you can crank out 3, 4, 5 deals a day and know that you're getting paid X amount the next day or 2 days from that, right?
Yeah, no, I don't think there is.
What about from so you understood the sales side of it. Did you start looking at the business building side of it all, or early on were you just focused on I just want to sell? Like I don't really want to recruit. I just want to sell a bunch and see what happens.
Well, that was the biggest thing for me too, because I wanted to build a brokerage within real estate.
Yeah.
But I had to wait 3 years before I could do it in South Carolina. So
Is that just a rule in South Carolina, or what's the thought process behind that? Do you have any idea?
So in South Carolina, when you get your real estate license, you have to be you get just your salesperson's license. Now you're just a salesperson for 3 years, and at 3 years you can get your broker's license. Once you get that, then you can open up a brokerage and have a team, basically.
Got it. And so it doesn't matter how good you do, like it's a time requirement no matter what. Like even if you're the best, you've learned everything, like you crush it the way you were crushing it, you couldn't have sped that process up at all, really.
I mean, there's different models. Like
Yeah.
there's different models of like different kind of brokerages and stuff where you can't have like a downline, but the amount of money that you make is significantly smaller.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's like $1,000 a year or something.
Got
or
it.
a couple $1,000 a year,
Got
like per person, right? And that's based off their production also.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, you teach 5 guys to write $20K a month. That's $100,000 in annual premium.
Yeah.
You're gonna make let's say you have a 10% spread on all that. That's 10,000 AP. You make $7,500 off of that after the advance. It's a whole lot easier to teach 5 people to write $20K with this than it is to teach people to go through a whole real estate transaction.
Yeah. From a sales perspective in insurance, like a real estate, you're doing a lot more prospecting. Here we have certain lead vendors set up. You spend money on leads. You're used to spending money already. That wasn't new for you at all, was it?
No.
What was it like dialing those leads compared to some of the stuff you're used to? And like, what are a couple of tips you give people, who have never done sales before, what it's like dialing insurance leads?
Yeah. So before this, I was like cold calling.
Yeah.
Like that, people didn't know who I was. They weren't expecting my call, nothing. So when I came to this and there were people that were asking for my help, they were asking for the products that we had access to sell. It was like easy.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, compared to cold calling, that was easy. It was basically just like being a waiter at a restaurant. Like you just take the order and get it for them.
I think one thing I've noticed from people that have been in sales before is they have a hard time like not overselling in insurance, because it's like all you have to do really is be super assumptive. They want the product. You have to go through and just kind of ask good questions and essentially order take for them. And some people try to they're used to selling real estate or cars or solar or something, so they try to oversell so hard because they're used to having to do that. And you're used to cold calling. Did you have to tone it back, or were you surprised at all when you'd call someone, they'd answer, you'd say, "I'm calling you about the form you filled out for XYZ type of insurance," and they're like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah.
Did that shot were you like, "Oh, do you know what this is for?" Like, was that weird for you at all when you first started calling?
Yeah, no, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Like, because before, like, the way I would open up a call with real estate would be like, "Hey Zach."
Yep.
"Hey Zach, this is Ethan. I'm just a realtor, and how did I do it?" It was "Hey Zach."
Yep.
"Hey Zach, this is Ethan, and hey, I'm just a realtor, but before you hang up, can I just ask you a quick question?"
Sure.
And you can hang up if it makes sense. Whatever, right?
Yeah.
But then instead of from that, like this person has no clue, asking a
like, why are
question
you
to get into
calling
the
me?
conversation.
Yeah.
It always worked. Like I rarely ever had people be like, "No," or just hang up,
Yeah.
But they still didn't know what I was calling about,
Mhm.
regardless. Like then I had to figure out if they were even interested in selling. Then if they were selling, did they have an agent they were going to work with? Were they open to interviewing me later on down the road?
Yeah.
And then I had to follow up with them 10, 15 times until they were ready to sell. Versus call them, they know exactly what this is, they want it, It was a
So
night and day
it's a lay down.
difference.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So when you're what are a couple of tips as far as tonality or some of the things you say and when you're calling insurance leads that you think have allowed you to sell 30, 40, 50 grand a month? Like what are a couple of the, if you could, because you work with a lot of new agents, you have a growing team now, like if you could make everyone do like two things that you do, what do you think those would be?
I think number one would be just be cool, calm, and collected. Like, I don't think you want to sound like super, super monotone, like dead.
Yeah.
You definitely don't want to sound dead, but you also don't want to be like super like uppity, you know?
Yeah.
Like a typical salesperson. Like just sound cool, calm, and collected. Like, hey, I'm just getting back to you.
Yeah.
Kind of like just how we're talking right now. Obviously, a little bit slower than what we're talking right now because we are talking to older people.
Yeah.
And then two, just be assertive. I mean, tell people, hey, this is what we're going to do. Take control of the conversation, take the conversation where you want it to go, and then be very assumptive, assertive, and move the sale forward because they want it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one thing people struggle with is, especially say you're selling, final expense or, even term insurance, but like you're talking to someone who's at least usually 40, 50, 60 years old. They've made it this far in life. They probably don't have any life insurance yet, or if they do, they have just a little bit. And they've kind of procrastinated to this point. So if you let them dominate and decide what's going to go on, like they're just not going to buy it because that's what they've done so far, right? And I think people are looking to be told what to do by someone who actually cares about their situation. That's when it clicked for me with sales and recruiting is like you ask really good questions, you uncover the problem, and then you solve the problem, right? Yeah. I think most people think sales is like, here's like my pitch deck and here's all the perks of the product. And it's like none of that stuff matters.
Yeah.
Like I bet you if you ask most of the clients I sold when I was in the field, like what carrier, and like I told them that, so they don't care about that. They're like, oh yeah, this is the insurance is going to get my kids 20 grand when I die, and then it's going to give them 3 grand to fly in and put on dinner for the family, and then it's going to pay my mortgage for 6 months. Yeah. Like there's a lot of value tied to it, and I think people who sell a lot get that and they ask good questions, and they figure out the real problem, and they can provide a good solution, not just a $20,000 death benefit. It has actual meaning to it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's finding like the actual like need for the product, like the actual pain point instead of like the benefits. Nobody cares about that.
Yeah.
Like when you die, it pays out.
Yeah, it's like if you have a $20,000 policy that pays you, it costs you $120 a month, like that's a bill, right? But if you have a $20,000 policy and $6,000 that's allocated to paying the mortgage for 6 months, and then another $6,000 that is for the cremation, and the rest of it is for your family to go on a trip to Disneyland or whatever. Like that's a lot more value. Then when something pops up and they get a flat tire, they're not going, I'm gonna cancel they might go, I'm canceling the $120,000 or $120 a month, $20,000 policy. They're not canceling the thing that pays for their mortgage, their cremation, and their family's trip to celebrate their life.
Exactly.
All right. So now you're starting to build a business, starting to recruit. What are a couple of the things that you're seeing that make you excited about how scalable this industry is and why you want to build a team in the life insurance space?
Yeah, so my brother, he had no sales experience. He was like working on grills, like installing grills, fixing grills and stuff. And he was working on getting into real estate. He wanted to be successful. He just didn't know where to put his work ethic. Like he had a really good work ethic. He just didn't know where to put it, And so he was working on getting into real estate. He just couldn't pass the test. Like he just couldn't pass it. And so actually at that time is when I started doing this, and I let him know like, hey, I was able to do this within the first couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Like, if you're thinking about getting into real estate, come do this with me.
Yeah.
And so he did. He got into it, no sales experience, and he sucked at first. Like he was not good.
Yeah.
It took a lot.
And most people do suck at first. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it took a lot of work for him to get really good at it. And now he's making more money than he ever thought possible, and he's helping other people do the same. And he did that within a year. Yeah. Like he's one of the top producing agents in our whole agency right now. And so seeing that happen for him, I want to be able to see other people do that as well.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing special about him. There's nothing special about me. Just work really hard. Yeah. And just push through adversity. Really, that's all it takes.
No, I totally agree. And I remember when I was recruiting people, it was actually better for me when I would tell them how much I sucked in the beginning.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I wasn't that good, but like you can be pretty bad at sales, and as long as you're really good at putting the numbers in your favor and like just being assumptive, like you're gonna accidentally pick up some sales here and there.
Yeah.
And I almost think it makes you a better recruiter if you weren't like the best salesperson ever because you can tell people how much you sucked and how you still made money.
Yeah.
You know, and that was like my whole pitch. I'm like, I'm not even good, but I can tell you how I can teach you how to not be good at sales and make money. And if you're good at sales, you make a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, and I think a lot of people do it the other way where they're like, I'm so good, like look at me, and it's hard for them to recruit people because they look at them and they go like, oh, I have to be like this guy who's so polished.
Yeah.
And it's always important to remind people of like what it was like when I was new in sales. I'm like, dude, I had no idea what I was doing. I was not very confident. I was super shy, like not outgoing, and I still closed deals. And I still made $200,000 my first year in business. That gives people a lot of hope, right?
Yeah.
How's it changed like the way you view stuff? You got married, right? So congratulations on that. How old's your kid now?
He's 2. Then we got another one on the way.
Another one on the way. So 2 kids. Is that like has this business kind of changed the way you look at family, like wanting to have more kids, that whole dynamic, or how's this shifted your mindset on that whole?
Yeah, so I think everyone's like one of their biggest stressors with having kids is like money, right?
Money, yeah.
And I mean, I'm not worried about that anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I know my family's going to be able to be provided for. So I mean, I'm not worried about that. Like,
yeah.
At all. Whereas the first time around, I was stressed bad about that.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, that's been cool. And then also, I always think back to like when I was in real estate. I'd go on vacations, and I'd have problems with deals. It always happened on vacations. I either had people that wanted to put offers in on properties, or there was an issue with the deal that I had to handle, and so I ended up working on vacations. Whereas like there was a week last year, took my family down to Destin, Florida, and I didn't have to work at all.
Yeah,
like with insurance. I did have some real estate stuff because I still had some deals.
Yeah,
I had fires come up on that vacation for real estate, but nothing.
And you're like,
this
isn't even my main money maker right now. This is the side business is causing me issues.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's just that freedom too. Like when I'm not working, I'm actually not working.
Yeah.
I think that's been the biggest thing. My wife's like that also.
Yeah, she loves that. Yeah. Now the bad part is when your team gets cranking, then you're always working again too.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But no, I appreciate the perspective on that. Has your wife been super supportive throughout the whole thing, or what does she think about the business now compared to when you started doing it?
Yeah, no, she's real supportive of it.
Yeah.
She supports me 100% on it. She loves it. I mean, she loves that I'm able to actually be present at home.
Is she able to? Does she work, or she spend time with the kid, and then I guess second kids in the future, or is she home all the time, or what's her dynamic like now?
She stays home.
That's cool.
Yeah,
and that's what she always wanted to do.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. Yeah, I remember when I was 22, started the business. Like I didn't think I ever wanted to get married or have kids. Like I didn't see myself in that role really. I didn't see myself as a leader. And like going through this business, I think it's really cool to go through something, build something up, have some success. It builds your self image in a pretty unique way. I think that it's hard to get anywhere else, So I think it's had a similar impact on you too. It makes you grow up fast, and especially I have 2 kids now. Same thing. You work really hard, but I get to decide if I want to be home at 5 every night to spend time with my kids from 5 to 8:30. I will be. And you can build that if you work really hard for a few years and build up passive income team and not have to make decisions based on money. So it's cool. And I like I know there's people out there that market like Lamborghinis and stuff like that, and I'm like, that's all cool, but I'll take time with my kids over that all day long.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah,
same here.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for sitting down, bro. Appreciate it, and looking forward to seeing where y'all grow to this year.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you having me on.